you said that you started off with the games Red, Fire Red, and so on. Could you tell us a little bit more about what Pokemon was to you as a younger person? Did you like to play the games with more than just your family? Is it something where you kind of got into other series through the original Pokemon anime?
Like, I mean, I used to just bring my Game Boy Advance to school, Game Boy SP, and like every kid was doing that. So I was playing it like every lunchtime, and like I never got as good as a lot of other kids. There's some like really amazing players, and the thing is, being the youngest brother, you tend to get like the say if they release a brand new game, your brothers get it first. And then your mum won't buy you one because like she's already bought two. She's not made of money. So I ended up getting to play them like maybe 2 or 3 years later. And at that point, like none of my friends gave me any spoilers because I didn't speak much about it, apart from like one guy who, for whatever reason, I'd only ever see him during like summer break. And he told me like, oh, did you know if you make this turn here and you press this button here, you'll end up getting a Regirock. I was like, what is a Regirock? And then like he shows me and I'm like, holy shit, what the? And then like, so this guy was giving me all of like, I thought he was woke. I thought woke was a thing. He's like telling me all these cool cheap tricks and stuff. So yeah, gaming became like a massive part of like my summers as a kid. I'm from like I was born in a pretty sunny place in the UK, like the Southwest. So I was basically going to the beach. I was like playing Pokemon at home. Me and my brothers traded together all the time because, we needed, at one point we basically compartmentalized. So we put onto one game, we had like Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. We had like the whole starter set and we had all of the birds and such and such. But the thing is, once you got to that level, it's like, what do you do now? Like, you're just always chasing that. Like, you want to get to level 100 and then you get there and you're like, well, what now? What's next? I didn't necessarily play to like win the game. I don't even know if I've ever completed a Pokemon game. Have you?
Mm, well, it depends on what you consider complete. Like, I never cared about the Pokedex at all, but I cared about beating all the gym leaders and like getting into the after game.
Yeah, I think I get that far. Like, I always get to the end, but it's the Pokedex. Then, like, I don't know which game it was, if it was Ruby or Fire Red, but it's like once you collect so many Pokemon in the Pokedex, you open up an entire new region, and then you get like Sudowoodo and the next generation.
Mm.
And I got that far, and then I didn't know what to do after that. So like, I didn't know, like, did I finish the game? Is this like a bonus? What is this?
Yeah, the Pokemon games back in the day, they kind of just ended, and they didn't tell you when they ended. You would end up like catching Pokemon and like raising them to a level that was like insignificant because there was nothing more to do aside from grind. But I guess that's how Game Freak designs their games, right?
Or you just like get a Ditto and make it your whore. You just become this, start breeding every Pokemon.
Yeah, true.
Like learning that at the age of like 12 or 13, like, geez, this Ditto guy is crazy. Like, I don't know what he's doing in that Poke Center, but yeah,
He keeps giving
he's
me all of
useful.
these eggs.
Yeah.
I actually learned the words breeding and hereditary through Pokemon, and yeah, it was I don't know, it was interesting. I think that game was pretty good for its time as well, right? Like it introduced so many complexities to a video game that most kids didn't have at the time unless you were playing things that your older siblings were playing. Like Final Fantasy was the RPG that my cousins played and I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of like where I figured out like turn-based and stats and like, manipulating someone's like weak points. But Pokemon kind of like introduced me to the world of like getting really involved with a game and pushing yourself to like beating this gym leader based off of type disadvantage and stuff. Do you have any interest in other video games aside from Pokemon?
It's funny because there's something about being the youngest brother and like not really getting things right away and hearing people talk about these games like you just mentioned, Final Fantasy and other RPGs. And I even then I had like this kind of weird chip on my shoulder saying like, wow, your parents had money to buy you these things. Cause like I got them years later, like trickled down through the system. So I played a lot of like games that you'd find in like I don't know, the $5 bin or the $10 bin, the stuff that's at the front of the store they're just trying to get rid of. Like I remember buying like Red Steel on the Wii like 2 years later because like nobody wanted to buy it, which I still think is a solid game. I stopped, like the last console I bought was a Nintendo Wii, which I still think is a new console, but it's like 12, 13 years old now. And like I used to love Resident Evil 4. I played Resident Evil 4 continuously on GameCube, and then when they released on the Wii, I got it on the Wii. So like I haven't done anything. I haven't really been gaming since I turned like maybe 16, 17. I started like working. When I went into work, I stopped pretty much any of that stuff. So I view gaming to be something I did when I was younger. Um, so like other than Pokemon, I guess it would have been like, yeah, Resident Evil 4, Mortal Kombat, some Tekken games possibly, Pro Evolution Soccer or FIFA. I don't know how are those games in the States, by the way. I assume you're in the States, like soccer games.
I'm in Canada, but same thing.
Sorry.
No worries. They're popular, but they're not as popular as like basketball or even football, which is weird because like football doesn't have the strongest identity in Canada, especially like the bigger cities like Montreal or Toronto. We do have our own football teams, but they're not like super popular. But yeah, like FIFA has always been like that fun party game, or it's a game that you go online and you want to play with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah, I mean, I also played a lot of wrestling games. I loved WWE, WWF. So a lot of that growing up. And the funny part is, on the back of that, for whatever reason, I found on a GameCube some NHL game, like a hockey 2003, something like this. So I started playing that, and then like I realized you can fight in these games. Like that's part of the game. Are people playing this as like for real as a sport? I had no idea.
Yeah, like when we go to hockey games, it's like that's kind of like half the excitement. You want to see them fight. Like you don't even really care about the score. You don't care about the teams. You just want to see like people on skates punching each other, whipping their helmets to the ice.
I'm a really big fan of Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast, and he was saying that he was looking at the stats of one NHL player, and through one season he was in 20 fights. And he said, "Can you believe that? Like, of course, like that sounds like not so much, but like professional fighters don't get through that their entire careers, and this guy's doing it in like one season." Yeah. And he's like, "That's one." I can't believe it. Why are they? Yeah.
I guess there's some fun to it, you know. Like so if you can't skate that well, if you know that you're not going to be a star, you can be that guy who just punches people in the face. And I guess every team needs an enforcer, right? So
it's like our version of rugby, I think, but on skates.
Great comparison. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Jeez.